Hello and welcome to the Ski Mask Collective program. I am your host, the Ski Mask Coach. You probably heard of me by now, I guess from the Twitter. We sent out a tweet the other day poking some fun at Mr. Barry Ribs, which we used to do in the past, which is a lot of fun because he always responds. And I really do think he likes a good jab, and it's a blast. I thought about we would go ahead and respond. I would do a singles show like I normally do. It's normally me running the show program. As you can see, I been busy. I kind of updated the studio desk. The whole studio may look different in the shot now, but it's getting big. It's getting out of control. So I figured we would respond to the Misery Loves Company. A lot of people interested in that. So I figured I would get into it a little bit, and I think we have OVO Cool Cat himself calling into the show here in just a little while. But actually, the first time I ever heard of Kevin Brennan was on the Artie Lang podcast, of all places, because me, probably like most of you guys, started as a Stern fan, and then when he got boring throughout the years with his lame Jennifer Aniston interviews and shit like that, we kind of devolved into the guys who were still making it, the guys who were still funny. So when I got into podcasting, I started listening to Artie Lang's podcast, and I'm not gonna lie. When I heard that episode with Kevin Brennan on it, and you could tell he was pissed because Artie kept going to the bathroom every 2 minutes to sniff coke, and then he didn't. I think he didn't tell Kevin that he was on the Facebook Live, and he didn't like that. And at first, I didn't like Kevin at that point either because, as you're aware, he came off as an asshole. So I was like, who's this guy I think he is? Artie's my favorite comic, blah, blah, blah. But throughout time, Artie Lang's podcast suffered, so I had to find something new to listen to. And I wandered on over to Compound Media, learned about Mr. Anthony Cumia and his program, and that's really when it devolved into learning who Kevin Brennan was, because he had, at the time, I think by the time I had transferred, he had already had Burning Bridges going, the show. And so I used to just listen to Cumia, and I started calling into some of the other shows that I knew would pick up, like Burning Bridges, for instance. And what started as a joke, I would call in and say derogatory terms and things like that. So I used to listen back to the show so I could hear my dumb self and laugh with my friends. I grew up real fondness for Kevin Brennan and his attitude and his look on life, and so I started watching his comedy, which just blew me away, man. Like he really is my favorite comic, and I mean that because of the way he holds the microphone. I think is just so fucking funny, and like that little lip quiver he has. Now I'm not sucking dick, no, I'm just telling you, why I like Mr. Kevin Brennan. But so we decided to respond to that MLC rumors here. And a lot about that. I remember calling in to Burning Bridges, and I brought Mr. Brian McCarthy, who was losing his fucking mind right now. Have you guys seen his latest stuff? It's out of control. I guess he started getting tattoos now. I mean, what is that? He's got like he's got a bowl haircut. Because I know when I used to call into Kevin's show, he would he would have his polo, and I know he's blind and everything, but he would still look like fashionable. And I don't know if it's just because of the virus that's going on, but he's looking a little sickly and a little pale and begging for people to come watch his YouTube and his interview show, because look at me. I've been doing this for 3 weeks now. I don't have to have a guest. And that was what always got me about Brian. Like, I liked him for a few times on Burning Bridges, but he would always get pissed at Kevin if he couldn't secure a guest. And it was like, dude, Kevin can keep the show going. You can't. Like, Brian would get flustered and stuff because literally he had nothing to talk about. He would just talk about, how much money he had or stupid. And they're all good stories, but he would rather just have a guest on so we can make what was funny at first, his dumb puns and shit like that. And it got slowly out of control. Now I just think he's losing his mind. So I know there's been some rumors. Atticus was talking about maybe trying to get Barry Ribs on our program here. I think we're gonna do like a Zoom, one of those Zoom calls or something like that, which would be a lot of fun. And I would love to call into MLC too. I guess our studio is located down in Texas, so it's a little bit hard to get everything going. And I was hoping that Mr. Kevin Brennan would come to Skankfest South, which I would love to be a part of. And I think I'm actually going to secure tickets to go. And hopefully MLC will be there. Hopefully just Kevin himself will be there, but that'd be great if I can't remember or not if they had actually booked his podcast But yeah, podcast always a hit. I was one of the first people to sign up for the Patreon. I just love that stuff. So I know I've been thinking about going to New York to see the show. So is OVO Cool Cat on the line yet? I don't know if we're gonna try to get OVO on. I know he had called in earlier, but it's a little bit hard to get everything set up. Like, I do most of the running myself. I got one producer who sometimes has it, but yeah, you can go ahead and fire him up. We'll see. Because I want to get like first account info on like how it went down when he's like meeting Kevin and stuff. Holy crap! Is this him? Hopefully he picks up.
Hello?
OVO Cool Cat, you're on the Ski Mask Collector program. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, it's OVO Cool Cat here.
Classic pun. I love it. Hey, I was just talking about. I was getting into a little bit about how Brian McCarthy seems to be losing his mind right now on Twitter, man. Have you seen what he looks like lately?
Holy shit, dude, that guy is going completely mental, dude. I am really concerned for him. I don't know what he's going to do in the next few days or what, but yeah, he is going insane. He's lost all kinds of weight too, so I bet he's back on the booger sugar. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if it's just the booger sugar or if it's a sobriety thing. I've never seen sobriety turn around and make somebody even crazier. You know what I mean? It just, like, he used to wear the polo. He would actually look clean cut, and now he's got like a bowl haircut and some 5 o'clock shadow going on, and he's actually responding to people's tweets and what seems like a little bit of bitterness, like he might be angry.
Yeah, I know. I'm starting to get a little concerned that like we might be bullying him. Like I try to lay off. I don't go as hard as everyone else, but I still get in my trolls in there.
Absolutely.
And yeah, he's even responding to me and saying like, "Oh, you're a fan of me," and all this other shit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what are you even talking about, dude? He's definitely losing it. I don't know what the hell if Kevin Brennan fucked him or something, because that's how it was with Sarah Silverman too. It's like
right.
It's like once they had that Kevin Brennan dick, they just go off the fucking deep end after that. She's kind of crazy too.
OVO, I've never thought about it like that. It's like after Kevin Brennan, when he took Sarah Silverman's virginity, she kind of went off the deep rails and a little bit crazy with some of those movies and some of her thoughts, I guess, really.
Yeah, she was never the same after that. So I don't know, man. I think it's this whole Kevin Brennan thing, to be honest with you. But yeah, I pray for Brian, because he was definitely really good on the MLC, but he was kind of a loose cannon to begin with was my whole thing with him,
Right, and I was just talking about, because I sat down to do my show, and about 15 minutes in, and I'm like, I don't have to have a guest, and that always bugged me about Brian, is he would get mad when Kevin wouldn't book guests, and Kevin's the type of showrunner that he can run his own show. He doesn't have to have a guest, so whenever they wouldn't, Brian would just talk about the same old stories or about how much money he has. It's like, come on, it's enough already,
Yeah, I don't know if that's really what it was. I think he got tired of it being the same old guest, but that was what also made it too, because it would be content like Barry, Chad, and Bob Biggerstaff, so he would get really annoyed with those two guys, especially Bob Biggerstaff and Barry. But that was what made the show, when he would get annoyed with them, and he would still go on about his stuff. But I think that's really what it was. But if you watch his show, I mean, he can barely get a guest on there too. Like the other day, he said, "I'm going to have an actress on my show,"
right?
And it turned out to be an actress, but it was an actress for community theater. So I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, we don't even know who the fuck this person is, Brian.
Yeah, I saw he tweeted, he was promoting the show where he was having somebody on that he hasn't talked to in like 30 years. And then, so I watched a little bit of it just to see, his body language and stuff. And it was just really cringeworthy to watch. And I don't know if that's like his new brand that he's going for. And I don't really want to get too much into the Brian P. McCarthy stuff, but I mean, it's just, I don't know. I had to turn it off, honestly. Like, I've tried to watch, but there was no way.
Well, it's weird too, because it seems like he has like some wit about him, because he'll actually, I don't want to give him so much credit, but he actually has the potential to have a good show.
Right.
But then he'll do weird shit on his show. Like on the month of February, there was like a murder on his show, because he had was like addicted to crack and was like banging hookers and strippers and all this shit. And supposedly Brian was saying, "Oh, he fucks really good and stuff," and all this weird shit. Brian got a hold of him, and the friend was talking, and the friend was like the greatest thing ever because he's just like a total fuck up. He makes Brian look completely normal.
Really?
But then he kept on trying to get a hold of the friend, and he couldn't. He couldn't get through to the friend at all. The friend like was talking to him on like throwaway phones and shit. Then he found out the friend died. Like the friend of Brian, he died like a month later, and then. Fucking Brian said, okay, so he found out that he died and stuff.
Yeah.
There was a whole thing, and he said, I will reveal how he died on the Patreon. So then he to his Patreon, and he doesn't reveal how the friend died at all. So it's just like,
oh, wow.
What is it, like a fight gag or something? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, first of all, I didn't even know that Brian had a Patreon. I don't think he's at any level at all to be asking people to pay money for that show.
No, he's definitely not. I mean, the good thing about it is, though, is that you can have, you can pick your prices. You could donate $1. I mean, you could donate 50 cents if you want to. Well, I don't know if it's that cheap because I don't know if because I think Patreon needs to get a cut of it too. But It's really cheap. You can pick the prices. But yeah, I think you're kind of right. It's kind of stupid. He like goes to different platforms, like doing it on Instagram stories now. I think I haven't even watched the show. I stopped donating to his Patreon, to be honest, and I went on to Chad's Boombox Patreon.
Oh, really?
And Chad has a stupid Patreon. Chad's kind of an idiot too. He's kind of
well, I know.
He's not as stupid as Brian, I would.
Well,
say,
yeah, but
yeah.
anybody that tries to back themselves up when it comes to wearing a backwards baseball cap can't be all there in the head. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. Chad is definitely not right in the head. Chad kind of explodes on fans too on Twitter. We kind of got into a thing, but then he forgave me. And but Chad is a little bit of a weirdo, you know, because Chad knows who goes after him and stuff.
Right.
A lot of these guys are weird. So they all know who goes after them and who donates to their shit and who doesn't. And it's just like,
oh yeah,
real guys, you know, they don't pay attention to that shit.
Right.
You know? They just go about their shit. Like Kevin, you know, he just goes about his business. You know?
I mean, he really does. That's why I've always had respect for Kevin too. Yeah, he could have anybody on his show, and it's gonna be a good listen because Kevin's gonna be Kevin no matter what. It doesn't matter if he had the Pope on his show. Kevin's still gonna be bitching about something, you know. And it's just always great to have that. Like I don't know, there's just something about that when you tune in, you're like, oh hell yeah, like I get to hear some bitching, you know, some arrogance, you know. It's so great.
Yeah, no, it's because Kevin is a showman, you know. He's been doing comedy for years, you know. So
right.
That's kind of what it is with him, you know.
Yeah, I would love to get it set up where he could take calls again, man. That used to be a lot of fun on that Burning Bridges.
Oh yeah, that shit was that was a good time, man. Just even just waiting for it was always the greatest.
Oh yeah, I used to love just like and then. You would hear like half the show by the time he picked up the phone. Then, all right, you know, you got your 15 minutes to get it out. And normally it was a good jab at Brian, or that time he had the guy running for governor on. That was a fun one to call. I called in and I called MikeBocchetti. I told him he looked like Peter Griffin from Family Guy. And boy, he was not having it. I thought he was going to have a meltdown. I was like, oh my God, am I going to give this man another heart attack?
Oh, MikeBocchetti, he's another one, man. He gets too sensitive with me.
Yeah.
He blocked me on Twitter. I don't even know what I said to him. I think it was just a joke. It wasn't even that bad of a thing, you know. Because sometimes people on Twitter, you know, I kind of had a thing a few years ago or a year ago where you know people were kind of getting crazy and shit, and it kind of blew up. You gotta not let that shit get to you, you know. But
yeah.
There's some of the fans that are kind of you know assholes and stuff. But for the most part, they're pretty cool and yeah, just with like the whole call in on the burning bridges, that shit was always real fucking fun, you know.
Yeah, it was always a ball because like there towards the end, we kind of knew who all the callers were. Like you had the angry caller, you had you, myself, Mike from Manhattan who would call sometimes, but ended up being a regular caller of a fair one. There was another guy, the guy who used to always call in and play that song.
Yeah, I remember one time I told you, I thought that was you that was doing that.
That wasn't me doing the song. I was doing the other stuff. We won't talk about it.
I have no idea who that was, yeah.
So, all right, let's get to the bottom of it, man. People are asking. They want to know. You have never come out and been able to say anything publicly. what was it like when you walked in and you met Mr. Brennan for the first time? Like, was it what you expected, or was it like completely different off the show? Is he the same in front of the mic as he is off the mic? Like, give us a little insight here.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, it was funny because I actually messaged him like a month before saying, "What time do you do your show and shit?" And he told me, and then like a month later, I went out to New York, and I didn't tell anyone, I didn't tip anyone off on Twitter or anything or like that,
Right.
I just went out there, and I just did my shit for like a day, you know what I mean? Drank at bars and shit.
Hell
and
yeah.
Fucking, was getting lost because I come from a fucking small town.
Yeah,
so,
you live right outside
kinda
Albuquerque,
rough
right?
out there. Yeah. I come from Albuquerque, so I got there, and so I didn't let him know about it and stuff. And I kind of did that on purpose because I wanted there to be another guest on the show, because I didn't want it to be the focus on me.
Oh, so he didn't know when you were coming. You just asked what time he did the show.
Yeah, which was like a month earlier. So I kind of just podcast crashed it. So I knew what time he did the show. I knew he did it, at the comic strip and shit. So I got there like about, I don't know, like really early, like 15 minutes early with my friend and shit. And the comic strip is kind of like in a weird area because it's kind of like you can't really be loitering too much in the front. So I was just like standing there with my friend, and my friend's like, "Is he even gonna come here? Like, what the fuck?" And I'm just like, "Nah, he'll be here." So I'm kind of walking around because it looks like a fucking like a beggar, like Barry Ribs or anything.
Yeah.
So that day I was waiting, and all of a sudden I saw fucking from like 15 feet away, I saw little Aaron Berg walking in. You can't miss him too.
Oh yeah, I met Aaron. I met Aaron in November.
Buff dude just walking around.
Right. Yeah, I met Aaron in
that?
November, and he's not a character that you would mistake for anyone else. He's always like dressed fresh to the T. He's gonna have the latest Timberland boots. Like, you're gonna see him coming.
Yeah, you can't miss him. He walks fucking slow too,
Yeah.
So he's kind of like intimidating, So don't let his size fool you. So,
Right.
so I go up to him and I'm just like, "Hey, Aaron Berg," and I said, "I'm OVO Cool Cat. Kevin said I could come in and do the show today." He's like, "Oh, OVO Cool Cat, yeah, I love you on Twitter," and I said, "Yeah," and they said, "I'm supposed to be doing the show." Kevin told me,
Yeah.
And he said, "I'll see what's going on." So he went in there, and I waited like another 15 minutes because I think he was kind of creeped out on me. I think he was in there with Adam, telling Adam to call the cops on me or something.
Oh, really?
So so then I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. So then I see fucking Kevin pull up on his bike, like the Wicked Witch from the West.
Oh my gosh! So he actually rides that thing, huh? I for a long time I thought it was a joke,
Oh no, he actually rides the bike, yeah. And he fucking came in, and I was just like, "Hey, I'm OVO Cool Cat." And he was cool, he kind of got like a little spooked by me at first, but he's like, "Oh, OVO Cool Cat, nice to meet you," and stuff. So
Yeah.
So I kind of just like followed him into the comics and said, "Yeah, I paid for the appearance." He said people can sit on MLC, and he's like, "What? You did? Like, I haven't checked my phone or anything."
Right.
Like, yeah, I did. And he's like, "Oh, okay." And so then he's like, "Wait right here." And Adam was in there and stuff, and I saw him go to the back, and he's like, "OVO Cool Cat is here," and he just goes like he just like did like a laugh like that, like, what the fuck is going on? and then he came up to me and he said, he's like fucking sweating like a fucking pig, man. Like, he's just like sweating, like drenched in sweat because it was hot.
Yeah.
And it was the summertime. He was riding his bike, so he's like, wait for Adam, and he's gonna call you back.
Oh wow.
So then I waited for Adam, and he went back outside, and then fucking Gino came in, and like he was like yelling all kinds of shit. I don't even know what he was saying.
Was he already drunk?
Probably saying racist shit, Huh?
Was he already drunk?
No, he wasn't drunk. Yeah, he actually was like dressed well and stuff, believe it or not. And he just kind of like looked at me, and was like still talking, and like he was like talking to no one too. He was just like rambling all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
So then Adam came up to me and said, we're going to call you back in a few, but it's real tiny, so your friend can't come. He's just going to have to, like, wait out here.
Oh, wow.
So then we did, and then we were in there, and, like, Kevin doesn't really say much, you know, because he says that he doesn't really talk a lot before the podcast because he wants to save it all for the podcast.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happened, and then I put my headphones on. Before I knew it, like, we were actually going and stuff, and then, yeah, that was about it, and then it ended, and Gino was cool with me. Gino's kind of weirded out by me now because we kind of got into something on Twitter, and I think that he thinks I'm not on his side, you know, because Gino's like a weirdo. He's kind of like real big on loyalty and stuff, and like at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah,
but Gino actually stayed after the podcast, and he and yeah, he's like, oh, okay, bye, OVO, cool cat or whatever. And then I stayed talking to Kevin a little bit, but you know, Kevin was just, you know, I was kind of nervous, you know.
Of course,
but
yeah.
It was cool. And then but yeah, Kevin off screen, he's kind of like, you know, he's a little bit grouchy, you know. He's a little bit, you know, kind of pissed off with everything. He's exactly what you would expect.
Oh my God.
Like, totally, you know.
See, I've always wondered that. Like, I've always wondered, like, you know, right before he goes on the mic, if he's like laughing and cutting up, like, oh, I'm about to bitch heavy about this, or I'm about to really rant about this. But man, I mean, it makes so much more sense, like you say, if he's actually a grouch in real life, and then brings that before the mic. Maybe that's what makes him so good, you know.
No, it totally is. Yeah, and I remember I asked him for a picture, and he was like putting all his bike shit away or getting ready for his bike shit or something.
Yeah.
And I asked him for a picture, and he was just like, and he just went up to me, and then he had like the fucking nicest face on the picture. Like you wouldn't even like guess like before that he was a little bit annoyed. It was funny. Like it's everything I would have wanted from Kevin. Kevin is the best because you know, he kind of is pissed off when he's like sweating and shit. Like he isn't in the best mood when he's doing the podcast, but that's what makes it great. And like that was like one of the longest podcasts that he's ever done was with me on it. But it was funny because I went to the Stand that night to see his comedy show. Like that was a fucking legendary night at the Stand. Like
really,
you'll hear it from everyone. Yeah, because it was just like at the brink of things when everything was kind of cool still, because like that was like there was a lot of people on the show that he was on that I saw him on, and I was going to see the Legion of Skanks that night too. But then supposedly when I was downstairs watching Kevin, Lewis came in and he like started like a big shit and he was like yelling at people and throwing shit, and then I guess he just like left because Chrissy Mayer's show on Compound went over the time they had.
Oh, I remember listening about that on the Real Ass podcast. Yeah, Lewis was not happy because they were supposed to be like set down to a certain time limit, and you know how it is. It's a little bit different at Gas Digital than it is at Compound. I feel like Compound's a little bit more relaxed than Gas Digital would be about that, you know, time limits and things like that.
Yeah, and at that time they were barely starting to go up at the Stand, so it's kind of hard for them to set up their shit because I watch on the stream and it's like it takes forever and shit. So I went upstairs and my friend was like looking for a bathroom, and it was just like all this shit. But Kevin actually, like, I was walking and Kevin was like, he yelled for me like OVO, and then like we ended up talking and shit, and he was like super cool at that time because like he was like the day was done and it was I don't know if he had another set that night or what, but he was like super cool, and you know we were just talking. He even introduced me to the owner of the Stand. And
oh wow,
that was like super cool. Yeah, and at that time he was actually talking shit about Brian too. He was like, Brian's not rich, and he needs to show his tax information and all this.
Oh my God, I thought he only did that on the show. That's hilarious that he would like blatantly be doing that at a club, like in real life, like not even in front of a mic or anything.
That's why he's exactly the way he is on Twitter as he is in real life. Like it's not a front at all. But yeah,
that's great, man.
That
so
how it went, yeah.
You said it yourself. He's the same as he is in front of the mic, and I'm sure that's what everybody wanted to hear from you because you're key witness. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. No, Kevin is not putting up any fronts. You know, that's the thing I would say about him. You know.
Well, one last thing, OVO. I'll let you go, and I'll have you call back in to future shows that we talk about MLC or if something big happens at MLC. But as you know, my personal Twitter account has been banned by Barry Ribs, Travis Shack was banned by Barry Ribs. You were banned by Barry Ribs. We went through a period of time where we were giving Barry Ribs a lot of shit, and he had enough. What did you do to get unblocked by Barry Ribs? How'd you do it?
Oh, that's a big conspiracy. Okay. So Barry Ribs has his publicist, right? And shout out Atticus Lynch.
Is that his real publicist? Because he had messaged me, and we're going to try to set up a Zoom podcast where Barry Ribs can call into my program.
Yeah, I think he's more of a Twitter publicist. You know how Kevin has
right.
Twitter lawyers and stuff.
Artie Klein.
But shout out Atticus Lynch.
Yeah, he's cool.
Lynch, he actually, him and this one guy that we're cool now, but they both got me into Red Bar and that shit. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, Atticus Lynch, he was the one that was kind of been talking to Barry for about a month or so about unblocking me and stuff. But I don't know what the fuck happened. But then I remember when I was still subscribed to Compound Media, when I think at the time that you were still able to cancel, with no problems, unlike now.
Yeah, unlike now when you got to get a lawyer just to cancel the subscription.
Yeah. But when Compound Media, I was watching Barry on Christie's show, because that's really the only reason I had it, was to watch Barry on Christie's show, and Barry gave out his email. And yeah, he gave out his email. So when he gave out his email, I actually emailed him and asked him to unblock me. I apologized. I'm like, look, Barry, we're just fucking around, It's nothing to take to heart. He didn't say anything back to me on the email, but literally the next day I was unblocked.
Oh my god, that's hilarious, bro! I didn't even think that you would think about that. But yeah, if I would have been listening to that show, I didn't listen to that episode, and he gave out his email, it would have been over, man. If I was still being an asshole of my personal account, not the Ski Mask host.
Yeah. It's so funny what happens when these comedians block you, because they can't do it for long. They're narcissists.
They have to have the attention. Yes, you're right. You're so right. I mean, they enjoy it. And if Barry was gonna block everybody, he's not receiving any shit. He's like, oh, why do I even have 1,000 followers?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I think I saw you say to him on Twitter. So that's exactly what happened. But that was pretty funny. I was recently blocked by Chad too.
Oh, really? I think he has my personal account blocked too, because I gave him some shit about an old. Have you ever seen those episodes he did with Florentine, the Dumbwaiter?
Well, what was it called?
They're called the Dumbwaiter. They did a video series on YouTube with Chad Zumach and Jim Florentine. But I was clowning Chad Zumach on his acting skills in them, and I think he blocked me for that reason.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen many of those videos from him and Florentine, even the podcast. But yeah, Chad's a bit of a weirdo, because the reason why he blocked me was I was trolling him just a little bit. I didn't even say anything that bad to him. I forgot what it was when I told him, but it was weird because he told someone else. I forgot who it was. But he told them, because the person asked, "Why'd you block OVO Cool Guy?" He's like, "See the dick." He's always clowning on me, and then he canceled his Patreon, because I canceled his Patreon.
Yeah.
So I unsubscribed to it. So then I messaged him on Patreon, or no, he messaged me on Patreon first, and he was like, "Oh, look, OVO, Dan Soder is going to be on my podcast. It's going to be great." Right after that very day. So then I messaged him like, "Look, Chad, you're gonna have to reason with me over here. I'll subscribe back to your Patreon if you unblock me." And then he did. So yeah, that was
okay. So are you telling me? Is this breaking? We'll end it on this, and we'll have you have to call into another episode. Man, you're really in depth on this stuff, a little bit more than me. Which is great. I think you see a different. Yeah. I think you see a different side to these episodes than what I look for, which is awesome, man. That'd be great if you live closer. You could come be my co-host. But so are you telling me that Chad Zumach messaged you on Patreon and said, "Hey, I have Dan Soder, who is obviously a huge name," in order to bribe you to re-sign up for his Patreon?
You know what? Yeah, that's pretty much what he did.
That's so pathetic. Oh, dude, that's so Chad. Honestly, that is so Chad.
Yeah, and I wouldn't feel so bad about exposing these people, but Chad is already, it's all over Twitter, all the pathetic stuff.
Yeah, he's dug himself. I don't know any other comic who has dug themselves a deeper grave than Chad Zumach has. I mean, he is just getting banished. Every time he gets in trouble, he makes it 10 times worse. If he gets in trouble with anybody else, he should probably just sign off of Twitter for a little while and let it blow over, right?
Honestly, yeah, that's probably what he should do. I mean, he had it on block. His Twitter was locked down for a minute. And then, like, the XXX Tentacion fans came after him. And
oh,
they
yeah.
meet him in Chicago.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, all this stuff. He's kind of he's a troll himself.
He is.
He kind of gets caught up in pathetic stuff, and it's kind of funny at the end of the day. But it could be a lot worse for him with, like, these comedy guys covering him and trolling him more. But it's not.
Right.
That's why it's funny,
Oh, yeah. All right, OVO, I appreciate it, man. I know Artie Klein, Atticus, all those guys asking about your Kevin Brennan experience will be happy that we're finally getting it out there. Had to get to the bottom of the MLC. And I'll have you call into a future episode when I'm talking MLC news, if that's cool with you, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, anytime. If there's a new development, anything with that, yeah, I'll be down to do it for sure.
All right, brother. And if we get access to, if we can get Atticus to talk Mr. Barry Ribs into zooming into my program, I'll also see if we can't have you on the phone as well in order for both of us to give Barry Ribs a good ribbon. What do you think?
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing. I would honestly love that episode.
All right, OVO. You take it easy down there in Albuquerque, man.
All right, you too, man.
All right, brother. Bye.
Bye.
There you have it, Artie Klein. There it is. As you said, Ski Mask host, Ski Mask Collective. Biz, the biggest podcast. We're going to be bigger than Rogan. I don't know if we're going to be bigger than Kevin Brennan because, let's face it, he's got the best show around, MLC. We'll be dropping MLC news. I'll get back to my regular programming where I'm just basically acting like an asshole, cooking ribs, going on tour in June, and things like that. But I figured I would get to the bottom of MLC, talk about why I'm such a big fan, and have OVO Cool Cat himself on the line. So that's it. We'll make clips. We'll have this podcast available everywhere, and we'll have the full clip up on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to that if you're a fan. If you're not a fan, leave me a shit review, please, so I can talk about it on here and go over why your roast and puns are not very good, like Brian P. McCarthy. He's trash. I don't think Brian P. McCarthy will ever be good again unless he really cleans his act up and reinforces thing with Kevin Brennan. He went on Bill Schultz's show, and he knew he shouldn't have, and he doesn't back down, which I respect him for that, but still. Kevin is the showrunner. He's the star of the show, and, like, let's face it, you don't fuck with the star of the show or you're going to get banished, end up with a bull haircut, half a beard, and begging for YouTube subscribers, Brian McCarthy. All right, this is Ski Mask Collective program. Subscribe, like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to go eat these hot dogs now. Peace.